Ladies and gentlemen, we're delighted to now welcome into our midst our dignitaries for the evening, including our chief guest, Honorable Manusha Nanayakara, Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment. We also have our guest of honor, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Standards Institution, and our other dignitaries from CIPM joining in as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we would now like to begin with the lighting of the oil lamp, signifying an auspicious start to our proceedings. We'd like to invite our chief guest, our Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment, Honourable Manusha Nanayakara, to do the honours. Followed by guest of honour, Chairman, Sri Lanka Standards Institution, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, President, CIPM Sri Lanka, Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, immediate past President of CIPM Sri Lanka, Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe, Vice President of CIPM, Mr. Priyantha Ranasinghe, our Honorary Secretary, Colonel Saman Jayavikrama, Honorary Treasurer, Mr. Priyankara Senviratna, Chairman of the Sectorial Committee on Formulation of National HRM Standards and past President of CIPM, Mr. Dhammika Fernando, Chairman of the Standing Committee on Setting Up People Management Standards, Certification and Accreditation, Dr. Neil Bogahalanda, Secretary of the Secretarial Committee on Formulation of National HRM Standards, Ms. Ruvani Senviratna. She's also Senior Manager, Quality Assurance and Compliance at CIPM. Director, Engineering, Sri Lanka Standards Institution, Engineer Sunanda Fernando. Chief Executive Officer of CIPM, Mr. UAC Obeyasekara. Director of Professional and Academic Affairs of CIPM, Mr. G. Veeratunga. Director Operations of CIPM, Ms. Himali Dasanayaka. Thank you very much to our dignitaries. We invite you to please be at your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, we request you to please remain standing because we will now have the national anthem followed by the CIPM theme song.
Sri Lanka, Namo, 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 Namo Mata. Sundara Siri Barini, Surandi Ati Sobhamana Lanka. Danya Danaya Nekamal Palaturu Biri Jaya Bhumiya Ramya. Apahata Sapa Siri Seta Sadhana Jeevanaye Mata Tiriganu Mena Apava Ki Puja Namo Namo Mata Apa Sri Lanka Namo 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 Mata Upave Apa Vidya ශක්ති අප හද තුල භක්ති ඔබ අප ආලෝකේ අපගේ අනුප්‍රාණේ ඔබ අප ජීවන වේ අප මුක්තිය ඔබ වේ නව ජීවන දෙමිනේ නිතින අප පුබුදු කරන් මාතා ඥාන වීර වඩවමින රැගෙන යනු මැන ජය භූමි කරා එක මවකගේ දරු කැළඹවිනා යමු යමු වී නොපමා ප්‍රේම වඩා සැම වේද දුරලදා නමෝ නමෝ මාතා අප ශ්‍රී ලංකා නමෝ 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 මාතා මානව සම්පත අගතැන්පත් කර සකල දේශයම ජය නදනම්වන අභිමානයකින් ඉදිරියටම යන CIPM සැමදා මොරැඳෙන නවමු ආරකින් තිබෙදී සුපිපෙන සුහදව නිති මිනිසත්කම් අගයන ව්‍යවසායකයින් රැජමෙන සිරිබිම දියුණෙන් දියුණට පෙරමුණගෙන අද සාඩම්බරයෙන් සිහිපත් කර අපි සමරමු පැටියෙන් දිරිදෙන හැම නිති අනදිසේවයෙන් ලොවගෙන නාපි අදත් හෙටත් සැමදා වැජබෙමු අපි CIPM name shall excel, flying the flag of splendor through our realm. Nadum sirende nalum selika, onrai sirende urepom namam. මානව සම්පත අගතැන්පත් කර සකල දේශයම ජය නදනංවන අභිමානයකින් ඉදිරියටම යන CIPM සැමදා මොරැඳෙන අභිමානයකින් ඉදිරියටම යන CIPM සැමදා මොරැඳෙන
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may please take your seats now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed members of the HR fraternity. A very warm welcome to all of you to the official launch of the National Human Resource Management Standards, an initiative that is brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management Sri Lanka, as we know it, CIPM, in collaboration with the Sri Lanka Standards Institution, also known as SLSI. Ladies and gentlemen, today we mark a significant occasion as we unveil a framework that will redefine HR practices across the nation, setting new benchmarks for excellence and professionalism. As we're all aware, ladies and gentlemen, CIPM has always been a trailblazer in advancing HR practices, and it continues to lead the charge in shaping the future of HR in Sri Lanka. Now, this collaboration between CIPM and SLSI signifies a harmonious convergence of excellence as well as dedication, because today this convergence culminates in the creation of 11 comprehensive standards that cover many facets of HRM, from digital innovations to strategic workforce planning and a whole lot more. And these standards, which we are so proud to be able to launch today, also align with global practices and are crafted keeping the unique needs of our nation in mind. And as this evening progresses, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be happy to share with you more information on this fantastic endeavor. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for us to officially get started with our proceedings this evening. We'd like to, of course, start off with the official welcome address. To do the honors of the same, allow me to formally introduce to you our CEO at CIPM. Mr. UAC Obesekara is a Chartered Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Sri Lanka. He has over 40 years of experience in HR, including as former Deputy General Manager, Human Resources and Administration at Hatton National Bank PLC. Currently, apart from being the Chief Executive Officer of CIPM, he's also past President of CIPM. And with this brief introduction, ladies and gentlemen, it's now our pleasure to invite our CEO to address the gathering. Let's put our hands together for Mr. UAC Obesekara.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On this momentous occasion of launching the national HRM standards by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Sri Lanka, I take immense pleasure in warmly welcoming our chief guest, Honorable Manusha Nanayakkara, Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege, sir, to welcome you to this great occasion. I warmly welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Standards Institution, the President of CIPM, Mr. Ken Wijekumar, the immediate past President of CIPM, Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe, the Vice President of CIPM, Mr. Priyantha Ranasinghe, the committee, the sectoral committee chairman of the HRM standards, Mr. Dhammika Fernando, Honorary Secretary of CIPM, Colonel Saman Jayavikrama, Honorary Treasurer, Mr. Priyankara Senaviratne, Honorary Editor, AVM Manoj Kapitipola, Executive Council members, past presidents of CIPM, officials of the Sri Lanka Standards Institution, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. On this historical day, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management unveils, with the partnership with Sri Lanka Standards Institution, the launching of the national HRM standards. Now, for this endeavor to take place, something happened in 2021 when the president at that time, Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe, appointed Mr. Dhammika Fernando as the chairman of the sectoral committee to develop these standards. And Mr. Dhammika Fernando, with a team of experts who were provided to him, set about that task with deep attention, purpose, and with the intention of creating the best standards that can be offered to the HR fraternity. And it is indeed important factor to mention a little bit about the history of CIPM. In 1959, the late Sir Cyril de Souza and a small band of personal managers of that time got together and decided to launch or to start the Institute of Personal Management in Ceylon. And they mooted this idea to the Commission of Labour and Labour officers at a conference and to the International Labour Organization. And their proposal met with applause both from the Labour Department and the ILO. And so, in 1959, the Institute of Personal Management was launched. And in 1962, the Memorandum of Articles of Association were developed and registered. And the institute became a company. The institute progressed from that point onwards, and in those early days, there is evidence to show that they had seminars, workshops, and even mini conferences. And Dr. D.S. Bandarage, in fact, wrote the first handbook on human resource management. He was also a president who did enormous work for the institute after the time of Sir Cyril. And the institute progressed into the 70s, and in 1976, IPM was incorporated by Act number 24 of 1976. So thereby, we got state recognition as a premier HR organization in this country. And this was the one and only HR institute in our country. And so it is even at the current time. And early professional study programs such as the National Diploma in Personal Management, Certificate Program, Foundation Program were started and launched. And there were stalwarts in the form of Mr. M.C. Mathupala, Mr. Egaleheva, and many others who really made these study programs work. And they worked effectively and efficiently towards providing professional qualifications to HR practitioners of that time. And of course, with the very, very humble beginnings, the road was rough. But that band of presidents and secretaries and treasurers and council members of those times, they managed the institute and took it to a point where it went into the 1980s and the 1990s. So a lot of changes took place, and then we moved into the millennium. So one of the problems that we had was that we did not have a headquarters of our own. And in the year 2001, with a landmark building which now stands at Vijay Kumaratunga Mawatha, Colombo 5, the institute was reborn, and the institute was able to harness more talent, more members, and students. And the students grew in numbers. And today, I must say that we have almost 8,000 to 9,000 students studying in any year. And at any given time, about 2,000 to 2,500 students are studying with CIPM. So, this is the story of CIPM. And in 2018, the Parliament again recognized us by upgrading us to the chartered status by Amendment Act number 31 of 2018. And then that became another chapter. Then from 2018, Mr. Dhammika Fernando took over as president, and in 2019 to 20, he was the president, and the chartered qualification of human resource management was launched in 2020 July under the chairmanship of our immediate past president, Mr. Jayanta Amarasinghe, who was the chairman of that committee. And that chartered qualification is recognized by the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development UK. And they accredited that qualification as recognized by them, and they accredited CIPM as a CIPD accredited center. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Act number 24 of 1976 provides under section 8A, law number 8A, it gives us the power to promote and develop the principles, techniques and practices of personal management in Sri Lanka. That is a main objective. And I would say that what we have achieved and what we are launching today, the national HRM standards, is in line with that empowerment. And I feel happy to say all these facts, and the standards committee, the people who wrote the standards are Mr. Dhammika Fernando, Mr. Priyantha Ranasinghe, Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri, Mr. Aruna Jayasekara, Mr. C. Hewapattini, Dr. Chandana Jayawardena, Mr. Dhammika Kobekaduwa, Mr. Sanjay Walpita, Dr. Sanjay Jayasuriya, Engineer Sunanda Fernando, Engineer Hasitha Karunaratna, while Ms. Ruwani Seniviratna supported by providing the secretarial support as the secretary of the committee to the main committee. And this launching ceremony of the national HRM standards will enable the HR function to be uniformly practiced across this country. And I'm sure that it is going to add loads of value to the HR profession and to the HR fraternity in our country. So, whilst welcoming all of you, this August Assembly, ladies and gentlemen, I invite all of you to enjoy the evening. Thank you.
We say thank you very much to the CEO of CIPM Sri Lanka. That was Mr. UAC Obesekara for you. We thank him for giving us all a brief glimpse into CIPM's journey over the years. Now today, as we mark yet another incredible milestone of CIPM, ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to hear from the President. Allow me to officially introduce our President to you. Mr. Ken Vijayakumar is currently the Senior General Manager, Human Resources, Administration, Purchasing and Sustainability at A. Bauer and Company Private Limited. He's known as the People's Leader and was recognized as the most outstanding HR business leader for the year 2022 by the CEO magazine of Sri Lanka. Furthermore, Mr. Ken Vijay Kumar is also a senior faculty member of CIPM since 2008. He's a chartered fellow member as well, and of course the current president, having served in the CIPM Executive Council continuously for the last 7 years. With this brief introduction, ladies and gentlemen, let's now welcome on stage the president of CIPM Sri Lanka. Put your hands together for Mr. Ken Vijay Kumar.
Thank you, Trishma, for that elaborative introduction. Good evening and welcome all to the momentous occasion of launching National HR Standards for Sri Lanka. I'm honored and delighted to have the presence of our chief guest, Honorable Minister Manusha Nanekkara, the guest of honor, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Chairman SLSI, other distinguished guests, council members of CIPM, past presidents, CEO, directors of CIPM, and the sectoral committee members, CIPM HODs and staff. As the president of CIPM, the nation's leader in human resources management, I'm proud to announce that we have successfully developed and established the National HRM Standards for Sri Lanka, which are endorsed by the Act number 24 of 1976, as said by Mr. Obesekar earlier, which empowers CIPM to set benchmarks that align with the international standards, promoting a progressive and a professional standard in HR practices in Sri Lanka. As you all know, the National HRM Standards for Sri Lanka are the result of a collective and collaborative effort of two past presidents, the present presidents, and the current council of CIPM, as well as the members of the sectoral committee, headed by Mr. Dhammika Fernando, and the officials from SLSI. This project was initiated by the immediate past president, Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe, who envisioned the need for a national framework of HR standards that would enhance the quality, consistency, credibility in HR practices in Sri Lanka. The sectoral committee, which comprised of experts and practitioners from various sectors, industries, worked tirelessly and diligently to develop the standard based on extensive research, consultation, and validation. The standards cover 6 key areas of HR practice, namely the HR strategy and planning, HR organization and governance, HR service delivery, HR development and performance, HR measurement and analytics, the HR ethics and professionalism. The standards provide clear, comprehensive guidelines, criteria, and indicators for HR excellence, as well as self-assessment tool for HR practitioners and organizations to evaluate and improve their HR performance. The National HRM Standards for Sri Lanka are a significant milestone and a valuable contribution to the HR professions and the nation. The standards will enable the HR practitioners, and the organization to align the HR policies, processes, and practices with the best practices and benchmark in the world to demonstrate their HR competence and credibility to their stakeholders. The standards also will facilitate continuous improvement and innovation of HR practice, as well as a recognition and reward of the HR excellence. The National HR Standards for Sri Lanka will have positive and a lasting impact on the human capital development and the socio-economic development of this country. By enhancing HR capability and the capacity of the public and the private sectors, the standards will support an achievement of national vision, mission, and the goals, as well as the sustainable development goals of the country. The standards will also foster a culture of HR excellence and professionalism which will inspire and empower the HR community and the workforce to perform the highest potential and to contribute to the national prosperity and well-being. In conclusion, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to all those who have contributed to the development of the establishment of the national HRM standards for Sri Lanka, especially the sectoral committee headed by Mr. Dhammika Fernando, the SLSI, the past and the present presidents, and the council members of CIPM and the CIPM staff. I would also like to thank our chief guest, Honorable Minister Manusha Nanekara, and our guest of honor, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, the chairman of SLSI, for their gracious presence and support. Finally, I humbly request from the Honorable Minister to spearhead and implementation and promotion of these standards among the public sector, and to create awareness, advocacy about the importance and the benefits of good HR governance. Not only the public sector, Mr. Minister, I think we should also promote among the SMEs. They would require more knowledge in the HR standards to practice HR standards countrywide. I'll also urge all the HR practitioners and organizations in Sri Lanka to adopt and apply these standards to the HR practice and to strive for HR excellence and professionalism. Together we can make a difference to make Sri Lanka a better place to work and live. I would like to thank Ms. Ruvani Senivaratna, the Secretary for the Sectoral Committee, and the Technical Committee for Standards and Accreditation, headed by Dr. Neil Bogalanda, for the arrangements to launch this event today. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and I welcome you all to the fellowship will happen after this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the President of CIPM Sri Lanka, Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, for highlighting for all of us how the national HRM standards will certainly help to foster and promote a culture of world-class excellence for the HR fraternity here on our island. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're deeply delighted that joining us today as our guest of honor is Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe. Please allow me to officially introduce our guest of honor to you. Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe currently works as the chairman, Sri Lanka Standards Institution, which is the national standards body in Sri Lanka functioning under the purview of His Excellency the President. Additionally, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe is the Director Designate at the Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Over the years, he has accumulated great industry experience from working in prominent companies in Sri Lanka and abroad, and for over 20 years in CEO and executive management level positions. He is the immediate past president of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, a chartered marketer and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing UK. We're delighted to now invite our guest of honor to address the gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe.
Aibowan, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our chief guest today, Honorable Manusha Nanekara, Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment. Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, our President of CIPM and the Council, immediate past President, Mr. Jayanta Amarasinghe, CIPM past Presidents, my colleagues from Sri Lanka Standards Institution, Chairman of the Sectorial Committee and the Sectorial Committee, members of the formulation of Committee for Formulation of National Standards, Chairman of the Standing Committee, committee members of the Standing Committee, and the CEO of CIPM. It's absolutely a great honor for Sri Lanka Standards Institution to be partnering CIPM today in this very momentous and the most important occasion in our journey together in terms of launching the National Human Resource Management Standards. As you know, Sri Lanka Standards Institution works under the purview of the President of the country, His Excellency Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe, and our endeavor is to be the guardian of quality in terms of raising the quality standards, not only in products but in processes and systems. And it is a moment that we gather here to celebrate this milestone as a country in terms of rebuilding Sri Lanka to face the new world. The development and launch of the national standards marks a pivotal role in the journey in Sri Lanka as we get back on our feet to compete in the global world. It is all about inculcating a fair and equitable way of managing people in organizations, be it in private sector, public sector, SMEs, wherever they are, getting the best out of the people in a fair and equitable manner. By adhering to these standards, organizations will be empowered to establish robust HR systems and processes and promote transparency, equity, and inclusivity. From recruitment to talent management to performance evaluation to employee engagement, these standards will provide a framework to excel in every facet of HR management. Furthermore, the adoption of national standards will not only elevate the quality of HR practices across organizations, but also strengthen our global competitiveness. By aligning our HRM practices with the global best practices, we'll be able to position our country as a country that is ready to move forward in this journey of development. We'll be able to compete in attracting investment, talent supply, and in terms of innovation. As our chairman said, however good they are, the successful execution will require a collaborative effort from the government, the businesses, academia, all members of the society. It will be incumbent upon all of us to understand and embrace these standards, and we take it upon ourselves as a shared responsibility to collaborate very closely with each other to execute these standards. Preparing national standards is no easy task. I must congratulate the committees who work tirelessly to go into details and in terms of formulating these standards. National standards are always very difficult to craft and, more importantly, very difficult to execute. It requires the support of all of us in terms of our commitment, in terms of our knowledge to take these standards forward. The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management has indeed played a pivotal role in this endeavor in formulating the national standards together with the Sri Lanka Standards Institution. Their dedication, expertise, and commitment to advance the HR profession over a long period of time had been instrumental in shaping our country in terms of the HR practices. So I'm sure what they have started together with SLSI in terms of formulating standards will help them to go a long way in taking the HR practices to a new level in our country. Their active involvement in the development processes has reflected in the latest trends that you see, especially in the SME sector. I must thank CIPM for your outstanding service over the years, and especially working with SLSI in formulating these standards. As you know, Sri Lanka Standards Institution has a national responsibility of formulating standards for our country. We play a crucial role in supporting economic development, ensuring quality assurance, facilitating trade, promoting innovation, protecting our consumers, and promoting environmental sustainability in our country. So all in all, having national HRM standards will promote organizational effectiveness. It will promote legal compliance. Talent management will be taken to a different level. We'll be able to take on professional development and ethical conduct, and ultimately contributing to the sustainable business growth of our country. We need to seize this moment as an opportunity and reaffirm our commitment, our dedication to execute these standards across the organizations that we work. As you know, human resource management has been taken into a different level in developing countries and developed countries. So we need to quickly get our standards up. Together, we'll have to work tirelessly to embark on this journey with optimism, determination, and a shared vision to take our country to be a more prosperous and an inclusive nation. I think the journey will start today, and with the Honourable Minister's support, with the government fully behind this kind of an initiative, I think the journey will be a very, very enjoyable journey. There will be a lot of obstacles, but if we work interdependently, we will somehow be able to achieve what we need to achieve for our country. Thank you very much, CIPM, for working with SLSI to make this a reality. And the journey has just begun. Many more steps are to be taken, but it's going to be a wonderful journey when we reach the destination. Thank you very much.
Please remain on stage. We'd like to invite our guest of honor to please remain on stage. Thank you for sharing your message with us, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe. We'd now like to present a token of appreciation to Dr. Ranasinghe as we thank him for his presence here today. To do the honors of presenting this token on behalf of CIPM, I'd like to invite the following dignitaries. Our Vice President, Mr. Priyantha Ranasinghe. We'd also like to invite our Honorary Secretary, Colonel Saman Jayavikrama. And we'd also like to invite Dr. Neil Bogahalanda, who is the Chairman of the Standing Committee on setting up people management standards, certification and accreditation. So we now invite our dignitaries to please join us up as we present this token to the Chairman of Sri Lanka Standards Institution, also our guest of honor today, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together as we say a big thank you to Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe for gracing our occasion as our guest of honor. Thank you very much to you, sir. Thank you very much to our dignitaries, and of course CIPM deeply appreciates this collaboration with SLSI because it's thanks to their partnership and support that we have been able to formulate, craft and launch the HRM standards today. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, up next we are now about to witness the grand highlight on our agenda today, which is of course the official launch of the National HRM Standards. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now preparing to unveil these standards to you, and as we do so, I'd now like to invite a few key dignitaries to please join us in the official launch. To join us right here near the stage, we'd like to invite our chief guest, Honorable Manusha Nanayakkara, our Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment, our guest of honor, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, our President, Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, immediate past President of CIPM, Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe. We'd also like to invite Mr. Dhammika Fernando, Chairman of the Sectoral Committee on Formulation of National HRM Standards. So right there, we'd like to invite our dignitaries to please join us. We will now be bringing forward a tab to our chief guest, and we'd like to present this tab to our chief guest, who will do the honors of clicking the button and then unveiling the launch video. So on the count of three then, 3, 2, 1. We will now await the launch video on screen. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put our hands together. This is the official launch of the National HRM Standards. We'd now like to invite our chief guest, our guest of honor, our president, immediate past president, and the chairman of the sectoral committee to join us up on stage. Please do join us up right now because we have a special presentation. We'd like to present the National HRM Standards book to our chief guest as well as our guest of honor. And as the books are being brought forward, these books will be presented first to our chief guest by our president of CIPM Sri Lanka, Mr. Ken Vijay Kumar, accompanied by our immediate past president, Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe, and the chairman of the sectoral committee, Mr. Dhammika Fernando. So let's present this to our chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we now present the National HRM Standards book to Honorable Manusha Nanayakara. We also have, of course, another copy of this book going to our guest of honor next. Our guest of honor, of course, is Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Chairman, Sri Lanka Standards Institution. And we will now be presenting this book to our guest of honor. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together as we present the National HRM Standards book to Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, Chairman, Sri Lanka Standards Institution. And with that, we say thank you very much to all of our dignitaries. Our dignitaries can feel free now to take their seats in the audience. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're all eagerly awaiting your copy as well of the National HRM Standards. So fear not, we have a QR code by which you can go ahead and download the National HRM Standards for yourself. The QR code is on your tables, ladies and gentlemen. You will notice the QR codes on your tables right now. So during the course of the evening, feel free to scan the QR code and get access to the National HRM Standards for yourself. With that being said, it's now time for us to find out a little bit more about the people who made the National HRM Standards a reality. Let's take a look at this next video. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. That is the National HRM Standards for you. And with our official launch here this evening, we have formally laid the foundation, ladies and gentlemen, for professionalism, for innovation, for excellence in HR practices in Sri Lanka. Now, as we celebrate this milestone achievement this evening, ladies and gentlemen, it's also, of course, very apt for us to acknowledge the remarkable contributions that have been made by the Sectoral Committee for Developing National Standards on Human Resource Management. This committee has been led by its chairman, Mr. Dhammika Fernando. We will shortly be hearing the chairman address us. Before that, allow me now to formally introduce Mr. Dhammika Fernando to you. From 2018 to 2020, Mr. Dhammika Fernando served as the president of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, Sri Lanka. Under his leadership, the Institute achieved chartered status and introduced a new curriculum for CQHRM, designed to meet international accreditation requirements and standards. During this time, CIPM hosted its inaugural World HR Congress of the World Federation of People Management Associations in 2021, after winning the hosting bid. In 2021, Mr. Damika Fernando was elected to the presidency of the Asia Pacific Federation of Human Resource Management, a position that he held until August 2023. He's also a board member of the World Federation of People Management Associations. In 2023, Mr. Damika Fernando was also recognized for his remarkable contributions to the HR field when he was awarded the prestigious CIPM Lifetime Gold Award during the annual HR conference of CIPM. Mr. Damika Fernando currently serves as Director and Local Chief Officer of Tropical Findings Private Limited, which is a Japanese conglomerate operating in EPZ Katunayaka. So with this brief introduction, ladies and gentlemen, let's now hear from the Chairman of the Sectoral Committee. Please put your hands together for Mr. Damika Fernando.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Trishma, for that kind introduction. And Honorable Minister, Honorable Guest of Honor, Honorable invitees, past presidents, council members, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's a momentous occasion, and I'm honored to share this, my thoughts on the launch of the National HR Standards by the Chartered Institute of Personal Management today. In the interest of time, I want to take you through the journey that let us see briefly. Well, during my tenure as president of the president from July 2019 to July 2021, we achieved a significant milestone in this line. That is the CIPM admission to the membership of the ISO Technical Committee TC260 alongside the Sri Lanka Standardization Institute or the Sri Lanka Institute of Sri Lanka Standards Institute. This is, ladies and gentlemen, mainly the TC260 is the technical committee of International Standard Organization which promulgated the HR standards, ISO HR standard for the first time, and this was formulated in 2011. And we were in fact fortunate enough to join as a country to this International Standard Organization Technical Committee 260 and voting members of the Technical Committee 260. And from there onwards, this our strategic plan also, the CI included an ambitious objective, developing Sri Lanka standards for the people profession. This is, in fact, as during the welcome speech, as Mr. Ubesekara stated, is one of the mandates that is which aligns with our constitutional mandate. While we could not initiate the project during my tenure, I am pleased that the next Executive Council, presided by my successor, Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe, initiated the project and carried the torch forward, and the council appointed me as the chairman of the committee tasked with the formulation of the national HRM standards in Sri Lanka. To achieve this, we've collaborated closely with the Sri Lanka Standards Institution, as mentioned previously, and their role and as the government-empowered organization was crucial. together, we formulated the sectoral committee comprising 12 experts who are responsible for drafting the national standards for HRM and definition of the HRM vocabulary. This collaboration worked seamlessly. Despite misconception that the Sri Lanka Standards Institute holds significant regulatory powers, their role is more advisory one. In fact, as the chairman also mentioned, and I really would like the country to make the Sri Lanka Standard Institute more empowered in not only promulgating and keeping standard, but regulating and the standards in this country. Because in their, according to the constitutional mandate given to the Sri Lanka Standards Institute, they are more of a body which is an advisory kind of. Anyway, but we as CIPM has brought unparalleled expertise to the table, as you have seen moments before, those who have contributed to formulate these standards. But the journey was not easy, not without challenges. Over 3 years, or more than 3 years, we've meticulously followed the due process, which took a long time. But today, I'm relieved to announce that the national HR standards are complete and officially approved by the Sri Lankan authorities. The standards are not static. These are continuously evolving and expanding. So in time to come, the sectoral committee will be improving and will be introducing further standards in the evolving people management areas, such as the circular economy, using AI in people management, etc. Even these standards, which we have promulgated today, are to be reviewed and updated time and again in the future. Well, looking ahead, I envision CIPM playing a pivotal role. We should aspire to become an accredited certifying body for both ISO HRM standards and the Sri Lanka standards. This will empower us to serve industries and professionals seeking certification on people, profession, and practices. Well, finally, it's always my thinking that the attitude of gratitude takes us a long way. So I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the sectoral standing committee members, of all those who have mentioned the names and on the screen you have seen. Those who have contributed, they are an excellent team. And their diligence, their expertise, which were invaluable. My special thanks goes to Mr. Amarasinghe, the immediate past president, and Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, the incumbent president, who gave us a lot of encouragement and love, along with the Executive Council of CIPM over the last 3 years. Also not forgetting Mrs. Ruani and the CIPM Quality Assurance and Compliance team deserves a big recognition for their meticulous work in coordinating, compiling, proofreading, typesetting the standards. Lastly, I appreciate the scrutinizers who ensured the quality and integrity of the completed standards. These national HRM standards are more than guidelines. They are a benchmark. Let us embrace them, implement them, and elevate our organizations and the workforce. They provide a framework of excellence, professionalism, and consistency. Together, we shape the future of the people, profession, and practices in Sri Lanka. Thank you for your unwavering commitment and your excellence. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We say thank you very much to the chairman of the sectoral committee, Mr. Damika Fernando, for giving us an overview of how the HRM standards were brought to life thanks to the contribution of several stakeholders. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we now take a brief break from our formal proceedings to present before you a captivating entertainment act. Get ready now, ladies and gentlemen, to be enthralled by a soulful saxophone performance by our talented musician today. Our saxophonist is now all set to take you on a musical journey through a fascinating medley of Western tunes. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's now welcome our saxophonist on stage. This is Supun Jayalat for you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Supun Jayalat for you, delighting us all with the enchanting sounds of his saxophone, and we say thank you to him for adding a touch of his magic to our event today. Ladies and gentlemen, at our official launch ceremony here this evening, we are deeply privileged that this milestone occasion has been graced by the presence of our chief guest, Honorable Manusha Nanayakara, our Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment. It's now our pleasure to invite our Honorable Minister to address the gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Honorable Manusha Nanayakara.
After saxophonist, how can I address the gathering? Okay. Guest of honor, Dr. Asanka Ranasinghe, Chairman of Sri Lanka Standard Institute. President CIPM Sri Lanka, Mr. Ken Vijayakumar. Council members of CIPM. Past presidents of CIPM. Dignitaries from Sri Lanka Standards Institution, Chairman of the Sectoral Committee on Formulation of National HRM Standards and past President of CIPM, Dr. Dhammika Fernando, Member of the Sectoral Committee, Review Committee on Formulation of National HRM Standards, Member of CIPM and practitioners and distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. As we gather here today for the momentous launch of the National HRM Standards, it is fitting that this event unfolds on the eve of International Workers' Day. This timing is symbolic, reinforcing our commitment to enhancing our labor force's dignity, right, and working conditions. Tomorrow, as the world celebrates workers' achievements, we too embark on a new journey to ensure that every Sri Lanka worker benefits from standardized, equitable, and exemplary HR practices. This alignment underscores CIPM's dedication on improving employment standards at a time when the global spotlight shining on labor rights and achievements. Standing before you today as a chief guest at this landmark event launching the National HRM Standards is a privilege. This initiative promises to redefine the landscape of human resource management in Sri Lanka. First and foremost, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the dignitaries present here today, including Dr. Asanka Ranasinghe, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Standards Institution, and Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, President of CIPM Sri Lanka. Your presence is a testament to the collaborative spirit that underpinned this initiative. Today, we are on the blink of a transformative era in human resource management. Introducing these standards is a significant stride towards aligning our HR practices with global standards, ensuring the practical and ethical management of our workforce. This endeavor supports our worldwide competitiveness and significantly contributes to the welfare of the most valuable resource, our people. I must commend the tireless effort of the Sectoral Committee on the formulation of National HRM Standards, chaired by Mr. Dhammika Fernando and the Review Committee. Your dedication and expertise have been instrumental in bringing this vision to reality. The National HRM Standards are not just guidelines, but a testament to our commitment to excellence and continuous improvement in human resource management. They will serve as a beacon for all HR professionals in Sri Lanka, guiding them towards best practices and ensuring consistency across all sectors. As the Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment, I am particularly excited about the potential of these standards to enhance our employment practices and ensure fairness, equity, and growth opportunities for every Sri Lankan worker. This initiative is a crucial component of our labour strategy to strengthen the workforce and secure economic prosperity. In conclusion, let us commit to implementing these standards, elevating our HR practices and creating more robust and resilient workforce together. We can achieve a brighter and more prosperous future for all. Yes, of course, as President mentioned, we have to work together to promote these standards among government sector and private sector, and as well as SMEs. At the same time, you have to revisit this, I think, for sure you have to revisit these standards after introducing new employment act, which will be a very radical, there will be more radical transformation. So you have to, definitely you have to revisit the standards. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to Honourable Minister Manusha Nanayakkara. We invite our Chief Guest to please remain on stage to partake in a very special presentation to follow. To join our Chief Guest on stage, may I also invite our Guest of Honour, Dr. Asanga Ranasinghe, to join us, accompanied by the President of CIPM Sri Lanka, Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, as well. And as our dignitaries join us up, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to tell you about what's about to unfold on stage. It's time now for us to recognize and applaud the incredible contributions of the Sectoral Committee for Developing National Standards on Human Resource Management. As you will agree, their tireless efforts, their collective expertise has indeed been instrumental in helping to shape these HRM standards, and therefore we would now like to do the honors of presenting each member on the committee with tokens of appreciation. As I read out the names, I'd like to invite them to please join us up. We'd like to start off by inviting Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe, immediate past President CIPM Sri Lanka from 2020 to 2022. We say a big thank you to him for initiating this national project. And as he joins us up, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear your applause for Mr. Jayantha Amarasinghe. Thank you very much for your contribution. Next, we'd like to invite on stage Mr. Dhammika Fernando, Chairman of the Sectoral Committee on National HRM Standards. And as he joins up, let's hear your applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Dhammika Fernando. And as we thank Mr. Dhammika Fernando, joining us up next is Mr. Priyantha Ranasinghe, Member of the Sectoral Committee on National HRM Standards, also the Vice President of CIPM Sri Lanka. This is Mr. Priyantha Ranasinghe. Next, we'd like to invite on stage Mr. Aruna Jayasekara, Member of the Sectoral Committee on National HRM Standards. A big thank you to you, sir. This is Mr. Aruna Jayasekara on stage. Thank you very much to Mr. Aruna Jayasekara. Joining us up next, we'd like to invite Mr. C. Hevapattini. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. C. Hevapattini is also a member of the Sectoral Committee on National HRM Standards. We thank him for his expertise and contribution. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. C. Hevapattini. Joining us up next, Dr. Chandana Jayawardena. Your applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Dr. Chandana Jayawardena as well. Joining us up next is going to be Mr. Dhammika Kobbekaduwa. Mr. Dhammika Kobbekaduwa is member of the Sectoral Committee on National HRM Standards. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Dhammika Kobbekaduwa. Up next, we'd like to recognize Mr. Sanjaya Valpita. Put your hands together for Mr. Sanjaya Valpita joining us up on stage. Mr. Sanjay Valpita is a member of the Sectoral Committee on National HRM Standards. We warmly welcome him to collect his token of appreciation. Your applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Sanjay Valpita. Up next, we'd like to invite Dr. Sanjay Jayasuriya. Put your hands together for Dr. Sanjay Jayasuriya, member of the Sectoral Committee on National HRM Standards. Let's hear your applause, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Sanjay Jayasuriya for you. Our next token of appreciation goes out to Engineer Sunanda Fernando. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Engineer Sunanda Fernando is Director Engineering at Sri Lanka Standards Institution. We thank him and the SLSI for their contribution. Joining us up next is going to be Engineer Hasitha Karunaratna, Deputy Director Engineering at Sri Lanka Standards Institution. We have a couple more of individuals that we'd like to recognize. Joining next, Ms. Ruvani Senaviratna, Secretary to the Sectoral Committee, and also our Senior Manager Quality Assurance and Compliance at CIPM. So here we go. This is the Secretary to the Committee. Let's put our hands together for Ms. Ruvani Senaviratna. And of course, the final token now goes to the President of CIPM Sri Lanka for completing this invaluable national project. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Ken Vijayakumar. We invite our dignitaries to remain on stage. As we now have a token of appreciation coming to our chief guest, I'd like to invite Mr. Jayant Amrasinghe and Mr. Dhammika Fernando to also join in for this very special presentation. This token is going, of course, to our chief guest for the launch ceremony, our Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment, Honourable Manusha Nanayakkara. And as our dignitaries join us up now, we'd like to invite our President, Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, to do the honours of presenting this to our chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Honourable Manusha Nanayakkara as we say thank you to him for joining us at this landmark occasion here this evening. Thank you very much, and we invite you now to please take your seats in the audience. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost drawing close to the end of our formal proceedings. Before we wrap up, it's time, of course, for the official vote of thanks. To do the honors of the same, allow me now to officially introduce to you Dr. Neil Bogahalanda. Dr. Neil Bogahalanda is a member of the Institute of Certified Management Accountants Australia and a Chartered Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management Sri Lanka. He received his PhD from Management and Science University, Malaysia, and in his pursuit to constantly update his knowledge, in 2023, Dr. Bogahalanda successfully completed a program on people analytics, transforming HR strategy.
Distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today with a heart full of gratitude and admiration for the collective efforts of unwavering dedication that has led us to this momentous occasion. The launching ceremony of HRM standards, a culmination of nearly 4 years of concerted effort by many. On behalf of the Standing Committee on Setting Up People Standards and Certification, I extend my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you who have contributed to the success of this event. First and foremost, I express my deepest gratitude to our chief guest, Honorable Minister Manusha Nanayakkara, for gracing this occasion with your presence and sharing of your invaluable insights. Your support has been instrumental in driving forward this vision of standardizing people management practices to the nation, and we look forward to your support in the future too, sir. As the nation's leader in HR, each president of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management Sri Lanka takes on the responsibility of addressing national level issues and gaps. Immediate past president, Mr. Jayanta Amarasinghe, recognized the need for developing national standards on human resource management and swiftly conceptualized and initiated this project. Mr. Amarasinghe, thank you very much for your foresight and the initiative. Mr. Dhammika Fernando, another past president, assumed the responsibility of leading the committee in this arduous task of developing 11 national standards on human resource management. This committee comprised nationally and internationally acclaimed HRM professionals, academics, and business leaders. Managing that team also wouldn't have been that much of an easy task, being so great big personalities. Heartfelt thanks to you, Mr. Fernando, and the committee, all the committee members, for your tireless efforts in formulating country-specific HRM standards, despite numerous challenges. I acknowledge and appreciate the leadership of Mr. Ken Vijayakumar, President CIPM Sri Lanka, and the entire CIPM Council for their support and dedication to advancing the HR profession in Sri Lanka. A special thanks to Mr. Ken Vijayakumar for setting up and assigning the task of Standing Committee on People Management Standards, ensuring the continuity and successful organization of this launching ceremony with the glamour and elegance it deserves. I extend my sincere thanks to the members of the sectoral committee and the review committee for their tireless efforts in shaping the future of HRM standards in our country. My gratitude goes to the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Chris Obesekara, and very able staff management team for their unstinted support throughout this journey. A special word of appreciation to the contributions made by the CIPM Quality Assurance Compliance Division headed by Ruani, and marketing, media, and other staffs for making this event a memorable event. Chikem, thank you very much. You gave me a few heart attacks. But the event management company, thank you very much for their meticulous planning and flawless execution, ensuring that today's ceremony is a memorable success. Thank you very much. Last but not least, I extend my appreciation to our compeer, Trishma Pinto, for gracefully guiding us through this program, and also to the hotel's management and staff for their hospitality and support. Thank you all once again. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Dr. Neil Bogahalanda for those warm words of appreciation to everybody involved in ensuring that our launch has been a success today. Ladies and gentlemen, as we now draw to the conclusion of our launch ceremony and as we look forward to the future, I'm sure we're all certain that the national HRM standards will serve as a guiding light for all of us in the HR fraternity, ensuring that HR practices in Sri Lanka will not only meet international standards, but will also drive organizational success and contribute to societal prosperity. With that being said, we thank all of you for joining us today, not just with your presence at this occasion, but also for joining with us on a journey to ensure that we can uplift and enrich HR practices in Sri Lanka. Now, before we officially wrap up, I have a very quick announcement. Right after the official proceedings are over, we would like to click a group photograph with a few dignitaries and special individuals, which I will name right now, and we'd like to request them to please remain right after the formal proceedings are done. This group photograph will be clicked with our chief guest, Honorable Manusha Nanayakkara, our guest of honor, Dr. Asanga Rana Singha, our president, Mr. Ken Vijay Kumar, immediate past president, Mr. Jayanta Amar Singha, the chairman of the sectoral committee, Mr. Dhammika Fernando, and we'd also like to invite the members of the sectoral committee to please stay back for this group photograph as well. And for the rest of the audience, ladies and gentlemen, we now invite you to please join us for cocktails and fellowship and make the joy of this evening complete. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and please enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you and have a nice day.